Hey guys, Joshy here, back again, BJ on GameDay, and we're going to continue our team previews for season 2020 of NRL Supercoach. We're moving our way on up the ladder, and next up we have the Warriors, New Zealand Warriors. Obviously had a little bit of a tough season last year, a couple of changes. Shaun Johnson obviously had left and gone to Cronulla, and a few other personnel changes, a few injuries along the way as well. And we basically saw them just sort of play their standard season where during the bye rounds and through Origin they played well. Obviously their team is strengthened compared to other teams. But yeah, definitely found themselves entrenched in the bottom 8. Now, with their team this season, we've got the NRL.com predicted team that'll come up here. Obviously at fullback, they're the best player that they've got in RTS, Roger Tuivasa-Sheck. He's been an absolute godsend for them. Whenever he is there, they are always a danger. In defence, he's brilliant. In attack, he's brilliant. He definitely leads the way. And for super coaches, look, obviously in that fullback position, it makes him that little bit harder to have. You've got the likes of Tedesco's and Tavoyevic's. We've spoken about them before. Ponga's, Valentine Holmes back. Pappenhausen as well. So Rogers actually priced a little bit awkwardly at $659,000. I say that about a lot of players, but that's basically just because of the players around them. It's if you're going to pay $650 odd for him, would you just step it up and go the $730 or $740 for Trbojevic? Would you go even further to the $780 for Jimmy Tedesco? So look, RTS generally starts the season off pretty strongly. Maybe takes him a game or two to get going. But look, consistency-wise, he's probably one of the best fullbacks out there. Turbo can disappear here or there. Probably doesn't have the brilliance of Turbo, but definitely has that consistency factor over most others. And that's purely because the Warriors team rely on him so much. Now, if there's one part about the team that's always consistent, it's him. The rest of the team, when we run through them, it's a little bit harder to find. David Fusatua is one. Now, this guy had a huge season a couple of seasons ago. He was probably the go-to winger. And then obviously Shaun Johnson left the Warriors. And I guess that source of all his sort of points, those cutout balls, basically Shaun Johnson absolutely loved the right-hand side. He hooked up with Tohu Harris. In the centres there, they had Peter Hiku as well. And he'd always find it on the right-hand side with Fusatua. Unfortunately, that's disappeared a little bit with Shaun Johnson gone, and we saw his scores drop a lot. But if you can ever find that return to form, he is one of probably the 3 best players returning the ball. Obviously, I mean, from a team's point of view, these 3 with RTS, David Fusatua, and Ken Marmalo make up the best running backs in the NRL. So if he can somehow find a return to form, he's currently priced around $350K. A few teams might have him in there. Look, in the centres here, they've got Patrick Herbert. Now, he debuted last year for the Warriors. He was okay without being brilliant. I'm hoping against hope that Tane Milne can finally find a spot within the Warriors there. He's had a couple of clubs. He's had a few off-field dramas, but he is an absolute huge talent. And I'm hoping that he can get that centre spot over Patrick Herbert. And he'll have a huge ownership if he does do that. Peter Hiku, look, brilliant player, whether it's at centre, whether it's at fullback, always someone you can rely on. Kenny Marmalo. Now, this bloke had an absolutely huge 2019. He was probably the best centre winger in the game last year. He just went absolutely fantastic. Look, it was probably a little bit of a form reversal or a form change. 2016 through to 2018, his form wasn't that great. David Fusatua really had it over the top of him. But that was because of Shaun Johnson. Now that they've gone back to the left-hand side, Blake Green is a much more dominant player, and he prefers to play that left-hand side. And we've seen Ken Marmalo score plenty of tries last season, finish off plenty of plays. But the most impressive part has been his kick returns. From fullback or after RTS returns it, that second hit up, he has been huge with his meter gains, his tackle busts and things like that. So last year he was really an absolute points workhorse for super coaches. I never had him at any stage. I thought the form had just turned around, and it never really did. He managed to play well throughout the whole season. Now, it's probably the Warriors' spine. Other than RTS, it's probably their spine with their 6, 7, and 9 that I've got most doubt about. Now, you can see there from the NRL.com team that Cody Nicorima's got the 6. Look, there is a good chance that Chanel Tavita Harris gets it off him. You can see him there at the 17 spot, and Cody Nicorima may go to the bench. I've really been impressed with Harris Tavita. He hasn't set the world on fire, but look, Cody Nicorima's had a few years in the NRL and has been a good player, but he's never produced much more than that. So Harris Tavita definitely has that chance to develop into one of those dominant players. He's a good goal kicker as well. And obviously beside Blake Green, it looks like Blake Green as their senior player will hold that number 7 spot. And it's just who between Nicorima and Harris Tavita gets that 6 spot. The other thing you can look at there is they've signed Wade Egan from the Penrith Panthers. Now, if Wade Egan gets the 9 spot, you've obviously got players like Harris Tavita, you've got Carl Lawton, and obviously Nicorima. Now, all 4 of those players, probably less so Harris Tavita, but can play that number 9 spot. So it'll really be something to have a look at on Team List Tuesday. How that equates to, I guess, Supercoach. Look, I really can't go near any 4 of them. Price-wise, they're all sort of in that late 200s to mid 300s, so they are attractive, but the job security is just not there. You can't be guaranteed week to week that they'll hold those positions. In the back row, you've got a couple of good performers here in Tohu Harris and Lachlan Burr. Stretching that onto the bench, you've also got Isaiah Papali. Now, these 3 guys are very, very good in Supercoach. Look, consistent performers, always scoring between about that 50 to 70 points. Tohu Harris is probably the pick of the 3, but he's also priced a lot higher by about 100K. So definitely 3 guys there you can have a look at. Now, there is a couple of other guys here that I just wanted to talk about. One of them is Josh Curran. Now, he's currently not in that top 17 from NRL.com, but my tip is that this guy will find a spot in the 17, and he should be one of the first cheapies picked. 3 games he played last year. He played 1 for the Roosters before signing over to the Warriors mid-season. His points per minute, his activity on the park is good. Now, those 3 games, he only played about 20 to 30 minutes each game, but he scored about 20 to 30 points. So points per minute, spot on that 1 point per minute, which is solid. And if he can really develop as a young fella, I'm sure, obviously coming from the Roosters squad and that sort of environment, no doubt he'll be a hard worker and well trained. So if he can force his way into the squad, I think it'll probably be at the expense of Levaia Pulu. And he's the other one I wanted to talk about was Pulu. Now, I think Pulu and Hayes Perham are both a little bit of a trap. Now, Hayes Perham, he'll find himself in the centres or on the wing if he gets a start at some time during the season. These guys are a little bit iffy with regards to their poor performances in Supercoach. I'd really want to see him start to get some consistency on the board before we look at anything else. Now, the one name that's not on the squad there, because he's out for about the first 5 or 6 rounds, is Jazz Tavanga. Now, Jazz Tavanga, huge last season. I had him in a couple of seasons ago as a huge pod. He did wonders for me. Unfortunately, not many other people saw him that season, but last year they definitely did. Now, he's gone away for surgery in the off-season with his ankle. He played about the last 6 weeks of 2019 with the same ankle injury and just battled through. This guy epitomises toughness. He is an absolute warrior, pardon the pun, but he is, he's just one guy that you're happy to have in your team. He does have dual position with hooker and with second row, so he's one guy you can definitely have a look at when he comes back. During that 6 weeks when he played with that ankle injury, I think he averaged about 70 or 75. So definitely one of the elite Supercoach players coming through. But yeah, guys, look, if we go to the Warriors draw now, obviously we always speak about a lot of the Warriors players during Origin time. This seems to be when the Warriors sort of step up and play their better games. Obviously a lot of the other teams are depleted where you don't see the Warriors lose too many players. As you can see there, they've got the bye in round 12. So strategically how you sort of organise around that, whether there's a week there that you get RTS in at the expense of Trebojevic or Tedesco, whether you've basically priced up. I think what I do see in my head is if you can get someone like Zach Lomax or I guess a Bradman Best or someone like that who you can move from around that 250, 300K up into the mid 400s to 500 if you can somehow produce some cash from elsewhere, and maybe in about round 5 or 6 or 7 bring in RTS. Their draw through that part is not too bad once you get sort of past round 7 with the Storm, and then leading into the bye rounds and Origins to have RTS, and hopefully he scores some big games. But yeah, that's it, guys. That's the Warriors. Next up, we're going to go to the Doggies. Hey guys, Joshy here. Thanks very much for joining us for another episode of BJ on Game Day. Make sure to hit that like button, subscribe, hit the bell on YouTube for all your notifications. If you do want to follow us on Facebook, you can find us there at BJ on Game Day, and on Twitter we're at BJ on Game Day as well. So guys, we'd really like your support with that. Follow us so we can know you guys are enjoying the content. Thanks very much.